How you doing, everybody? And welcome in to the Alderman report for the October 12th meeting. This is something we continue to do, continue to make bigger and better. We've worked on the sound. We've got a professional studio now, working on the lights. So excited about that. I also want to bring to your attention a couple of the logos in the corner. We've got the Branson Statesman logo now, which is our publication where we produce articles based on things that are going on in Branson, as well as Forsyth Headline News, which has been really great help to us putting this all together and one of our primary sponsors for the Branson Statesman. So I'm going to get started here. The first thing that happened, and I'll just go ahead and say I'm wearing my green tie. It's very festive because I'm going to be talking a lot about Christmas. You might think, hey, Christmas in October, that doesn't make sense, but it'll make sense to you here in just a second. Well, first off, Branson Christmas starts November 1st to January 7th anyway, so we're a little unique here in this community, but that's how much we care about our values and traditions. So I'll just lay the groundwork here a little bit. Ozark Mountain Christmas is a moniker that's been used in this community since the late 80s, about 1988. Pete Hershen and a group of them, a group of marketers on the Ozark Marketing Council, took a group to Wheeling, West Virginia. And they just saw everything that they do with the lights and their Christmas celebration and thought, we really need to do that here in Branson. And of course, Wheeling is right there in the midst of the beautiful Appalachian Mountains. And so they wanted to highlight our mountains, which ties in, our traditions, our Christmas spirit, and as well as our outdoor beauty. So Ozark Mountain Christmas became the moniker. And I'll tell you how successful that was here in just a second. Unfortunately, as we talk about this a lot, that and we want to be friends with everybody. Branson's a family, but at the same time, we want to advocate for what we believe in. And just as I believe that live music shows and theater should be the number one driver to Branson, and there have been some forces within the marketing community that kind of feel that we need to be all things to all people, it's a similar way that's happened with Ozark Mountain Christmas. So there's a new tagline that's been used for the past 5 or 6 years or so, which is America's Christmas Tree City. And folks, to be honest with you, I'm not going to sit here and just rail on America's Christmas Tree City. I did a live stream of the meeting last night. I think there are some merits to that. I also feel that if they come here for looking for America's Christmas Tree City, to be honest with you, some things in the Pacific Northwest where they actually have Christmas tree farms, they might feel a little bit more like that moniker. So I'm not saying that we can't be known for our Christmas trees. Silver Dollar City has a beautiful Christmas tree. Some of our theaters have put them up, but we really need to maintain Ozark Mountain Christmas as the main moniker. And so what happened was when I spoke to you guys last meeting about Cindy Mary getting appointed to the TCED board. And it really energized a lot of the people within the entertainment industry in this community to kind of bring up some of the issues that we may have felt have fallen by the wayside or that we couldn't kind of reiterate going forward into the future. And so after her appointment, we all kind of came together. We formed the Ozark Mountain Christmas Committee. I actually just came from the second meeting that we had of that. And we wanted people to go to the Alderman meeting last night because they asked Michael London, a member of our committee, to put together a report with a slideshow and everything about the importance of Ozark Mountain Christmas and how we feel that we've kind of gone away from that a little bit. So I'll begin with talking a little bit about, there were some chamber individuals. The chamber's kind of been, behind a lot of the efforts to, change Branson in some ways. And so, Ann McDowell was the first person that spoke. She talked about making our area famous for Christmas trees. So again, you can kind of see the goals of this organization, which, again, Christmas trees are nice, but it's certainly not the reason for the season, right? Jason Outman, the new chamber CEO, he talked about this as well. And I also want to hit on one little topic that he also brought up, which is the taxation on ticket resellers. Folks, this has been something that's been talked about for a long time. Essentially, the ticket resellers only pay the tax on the original ticket they buy, not when they resell it. And so a lot of people feel that's, not equitable. And so there's been a lot of things going on at the state level where we can try to kind of get that a little bit more balanced. Jason talked about having, Ozark Mountain Christmas going along with America's Christmas Tree Cities. But really, if you know a lot about marketing, you'll understand that you really shouldn't have two taglines. You should really have a synergistic focus in your logos and your taglines and everything like that. And so that's why we are so crucially focused on Ozark Mountain Christmas. I just want to say this, and again, not to hammer it home too much, but one of the individuals that spoke said, it doesn't matter what locals think about Ozark Mountain Christmas. Let the professionals do their job. Folks, that's absolutely incorrect. It absolutely matters what our citizens think. And that's part of what the difference in with this new coalition that I helped elect versus the old coalition is that we do listen to the citizen input. And I'll get to that here in a second, a little bit more about that. So another individual, Mary Kellogg, who is the director at the Titanic, she talked about using the Ozark Mountain Christmas logo on the individual show websites and on their marquee boards. So I'm happy to report that within my role on the Ozark Mountain Christmas Committee, I'm the one that's been deputized to make sure that this logo is being used on all the websites and all the marquee boards. So I take that on, and I'm looking forward to kind of working on that. So I'm going to move on here a second. I'll get back to that towards the end of my report, but I'm going to move on to something that Ms. Cherry Webster brought up, who is a citizen who lives in the Country Bluff Estates neighborhood. She's been hammering home this topic for many, many, many months, and quite frankly, years now, about how the whole, some ways you can describe it as a debacle with the Country Bluff Estates neighborhood took place. I really applaud her for this because, as we talked about in the last report, I am very crucially focused on saving and preserving our neighborhoods. And Country Bluff has been one of the ones that has been absolutely at the forefront of what we've been trying to save. What she is asking for at this point is a status request, the status of a request made by Chairperson Davis on the idea that the zoning of the property and the project next to Country Bluff Estates bypassed planning and zoning for annexation. And I just want to bring up one thing, as we've really hit this topic very hard, but I want to bring up one thing on that, and that's that Cherry brought up, and she said, I'm curious if this is a consensus that we don't need to hear about this from all 10 commissioners on the Planning and Zoning Board. And as a commissioner myself on that board, absolutely not. It is certainly not a consensus. I want to know, and I want that question to be answered of why we were bypassed. So moving on to the next public speaker was Gary Groman. He talked about a lack of signage on the yellow route. Leave it to Gary Groman, the old seagull as he's known in the paper, to really bring up something that maybe not everybody's talking about, but hey, it's important. The yellow, blue, and red route, folks, those are really crucial for our citizens, because sometimes you don't want to go down the whole 5.5 miles of Highway 76 during busy time. So he just talked about the red route has signage, the blue route has signage, and there's a little bit of a lack of signage for the yellow route. So I just always want to applaud Gary, and maybe this is a good time in my report to say, you need to go and you need to read Gary's columns. He does one in the Branson Globe, pretty much every issue, and it's really interesting some of the things that he brings up. We talked about it a little bit last Alderman report, but Alderwoman Denham, they were talking about the increasing of the fees and the fee schedule in this community. Alderwoman Denham brought up such a fantastic point, and that is we've talked about how, especially with the Country Bluff project, there's actually been some waiving of fees. There's been some waiving of the process for certain developers over others. So her quote was, making sure we are not increasing fees only to waive them for certain other people. So I think that was absolutely really crucial point. So getting back to Ozark Mountain Christmas a little bit, Michael London gave an absolutely fantastic presentation. I encourage you to go watch it on the live stream that I did. And really, to be honest with you, there were times where it kind of got contentious in the meeting, but it lasted about 2 hours and 15 minutes. But I would say for the vast majority of it, there was a cohesive viewpoint that we all want the same thing. We all want to market Christmas and get people to come here for Christmas. And so, however, I had to leave at the break portion because I'm doing work for the Haygoods in the evenings. But I did listen to the rest of the meeting on the recordings, which I'm excited that they do now. But I walked out of there very disappointed because when the aldermen spoke after everything had been reported, they said a lot of kumbaya, they said a lot of things, but they didn't really actually want to take action on the 4 action items that Michael London had brought up, the idea of making an actual proclamation about Ozark Mountain Christmas, directing the entity that uses our tax dollars to promote Ozark Mountain Christmas as the main tagline. So I was very disappointed. However, good things come to those who wait. And when I listened to the end of the Alderman meeting last night, Clay Cooper, who I'm so proud of as a person who we supported to get elected, brought this up in his report. He took his own time to bring this up, that actually this needs to be acted upon. And after that, one by one, the mayor, the city administrator, they all talked about how we could act on that. Not just here at the city of Branson, but also directing our state representative to go to Jefferson City and perhaps make a proclamation at the state level about Ozark Mountain Christmas. So I want to applaud Clay while simultaneously talking about something else. And that's, folks, it has happened way too many times that citizens, even a great number of them, 10, 15 of them, get up and speak at the public comments section, and they are completely ignored by the Board of Aldermen. Now, I know that was a board of the past, but I got really nervous last night that that same thing was going to happen. So I'm really excited to say that it is a new day on City Council with some of the individuals that we've gotten elected. But let's hold their feet to the fire. It's honestly much easier as an elected official to just not respond to something or not vote on something, but you need to put yourself on the record because we elected you to make decisions, not to pass the buck. So I'm very proud of Clay, but again, you can be proud and still hold them very accountable. So they need to respond to individual citizens, whether they vote no or vote yes, when something is brought up, especially when it's brought up by community leaders and a great number of them. So that brings me to my next point. All in this whole spirit of transparency, folks, the comments are still turned off on the city's YouTube page. Ask yourself why. Even if some people are commenting negatively, that is a citizen's, it's their right. A citizen can write comments there just in the same way as they can go in front of the Board of Aldermen and speak. There's no reason why these comments need to be turned off. And I want to know, and I'm going to be speaking at the next Alderman meeting, why was this done and who made this decision? Was this unilaterally made by the city administrator? Was this a vote? I need to know that because I'm not comfortable with the comments being turned off on the city's YouTube channel, which, quite frankly, I helped establish with the streams that we did for the COVID-19 meetings and the fact that we got 81,000 views on those streams. So I want to finish here with just a couple things, and that's National Night Out. We've talked a lot about crime in this community, how one of our entertainers had their car stolen a few weeks ago. But we also want to celebrate the fact that our policemen do a fantastic job because, hey, they found his car, And so we had a thing called National Night Out, which is a thing that's done all over the country where the police get involved and go and hang out with the different individual neighborhoods to get to know them, because I always say community policing is the best policing. So I wanted to give a shout out to our local police department and talk a little bit about National Night Out. And then finally, sad to say, but everyone has their day where they just need to retire and go and kick back and sit on Table Rock Lake. Mayor Tate of Hollister has announced his retirement. And so I want to just give a big shout out to him. He's, by some people's account, he's the longest serving municipal mayor in the state of Missouri. He's 22 years in that role. And so I know that we're really excited. There's actually sort of a Hollister arm of our Song of Hope organization, which is called State of the Ozarks. I work really closely with them, and I'm really excited about some of the impact that they're making, even on the political scene in that community. I've had a lot of conversations with the leadership of State of the Ozarks about how they can move forward and do some of the great things that we've done in Branson over there in Hollister. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Mayor Tate, and I appreciate you guys joining us. Some people were asking me, where was your Alderman meeting report? Because we used to do them live stream, but I was able to direct them to Forsyth Headline News, which also does a great job. And I'm so excited to be able to continue to make these bigger and better and increase transparency for our citizens. So I'm going to be signing off today. Thank you guys so much.